So let's talk about the elephant in the room. There are growing concerns again for King Charles's health and the fact that his terminal cancer diagnosis has been worsened by the intense pressure and stress he is under as a result of the release of the Epstein files that have plunged the British royal family into a new crisis because of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and his behaviour, but also the revelations that have come this week in regards to how much the king put of his own money, £1.5 million being the figure quoted by The Sun, in order to secure that confidential settlement with Virginia Giuffre. And while Buckingham Palace doesn't want King Charles's health put on the agenda, they want us all to believe Charles's stand up to cancer announcement that things are getting better because he's been able to reduce somewhat his treatment this year. It's been slightly disingenuous because Charles is not operating at full capacity. He is unable to. This is a very, very ill man. And if you look at some of the pictures of him this week at the carers event at Buckingham Palace, where he attended alongside Queen Camilla and Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister, it's very obvious that this is a man who is really struggling health-wise to perform. And he doesn't want that to be on the agenda, but I think it has to be, because of course the decisions that are about to be made over the weeks and the months to come in regards to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, in regards to the public statements that the British royal family and Buckingham Palace will take on this highly controversial issue, are going to be historic. And I think Prince William needs to be given a bigger role, in the same way that King Charles was given an outsized role in the final 5 years of Queen Elizabeth II's reign, as she too battled terminal cancer. Now, Lady Colin Campbell has weighed in on the fact that the King's health is so much worse than what people know on her YouTube channel this week. I just want to play you part of it. Watch.
To tell you something that a member of the royal family, a senior member of the royal family, said day before yesterday. First of all, the king is in a much worse health and much worse shape than he appears to be. All of this has had a devastating effect upon his health. The rest of the family are distressed beyond measure by the turn things have taken. They had no inkling whatsoever of what was going to come as a result of the drop of the Epstein files. None.
I back up that reporting from Lady Colin Campbell. These new Epstein file releases have come as a hammer blow. King Charles and Prince William and senior courtiers desperately hoped that the worst was behind them and that the decision to effectively banish Andrew to Sandringham and take away his titles, even though it was William who actually forced Charles to get tough a fortnight after his initial statement. They hoped that that would be enough, and it clearly isn't enough. And what's interesting here is that Lady Colin Campbell is saying she has spoken to a senior member of the royal family just days ago, and that this release has had, quote, a devastating effect on his health. And of course it has. I mean, let's remember that when it came to Catherine's cancer battle, I've reported in the past that Prince William believes that a lot of the stress that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle put their family through impacted her diagnosis, made her recovery more difficult. Anyone who has battled cancer will tell you that the worst possible thing for recovery is a high-stress situation. So, of course, it's not a surprise to see after that brief recovery at the end of last year, Charles is looking very unwell again. Of course, that is a reality. It's a difficult reality You know, I have reported here on Outspoken that the king is suffering from terminal cancer. I haven't revealed what type of cancer. I want to be respectful, but I also don't sign up to the royal rota philosophy, which is advocated by Buckingham Palace, that we don't speak about this at all. Because, of course, the health of the king is constitutional. It impacts succession. That's as old as Shakespeare, right? That these discussions take place. And again, according to Lady Colin Campbell, much worse health and shape than he appears to be in. Well, I don't think he appears to be in good health at all, to be honest. So the question is now, how does King Charles focus on his health over this very difficult period and allow Prince William, whose radar and antenna is much more focused on these issues? I'm going to be frank here. William has been correct in terms of how Andrew and Fergie should have been treated. William has been correct about how Meghan Markle and Prince Harry should be treated. So I believe the question within the British royal family now needs to be about how there can be this region operating, not where King Charles abdicates. I'm not advocating for that. As you know, I know many are, including Andrew Lowney. I'm not advocating for that. But I do believe that this competition, which is currently ongoing between Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace, needs to end. It's not good for the British monarchy. And Charles needs to accept that William has been right on these issues. Charles needs to take a minor step back. He can still be public facing, but really focus on his health and let William try and see the monarchy through what is going to be a perilous few weeks. Because remember, the Republicans are circling, and the Republicans want to undermine the British royal family. The radical left are circulating. We've seen it in America. We're seeing it increasingly in the United Kingdom too. So there are risks. This is difficult. I'm trying to paint the full picture here. But given the king's health, I think this is where Camilla really needs to step in and say, look, you've got to take a step back. The stress is becoming too much for you. William can take the lead on these matters for the moment. Our royal mastermind, Angela Levin, joins me now. Angela, of course it's difficult. Charles knows that he was probably too public about his health and that the questions of his mortality were almost taken away from his authority. But it's very clear he's not well, Angela. And of course, the stress of this situation is not going to be helping his recovery one bit. I need you to do something for me right now. It is free. It is easy. It is simple. Just hit that subscribe button on YouTube. That's because over 50% of you watching this video haven't done that yet.
That's right. I mean, any parent who had been treated so badly by their son or their cousin or their brother is very, very important. However, I think they are doing what you want, but only they're doing it very quietly. I mean, Camilla will be looking after him 100%. But she will know what makes him feel good, and some of that is working. He was at an event yesterday that cheers you up, meets people, cheers you up, and is not doing as much. He and William are getting on very well. I asked somebody very close to them, and they said that a lot of people are saying they're not at all getting on, but they are. They're working on very well together. So, they are shifting a bit. The thing is that William wants to stay as a family man, look after his children, but he was told to go abroad by the government. So you can't really say no. He's doing that for his father. They didn't send King Charles out to talk about everything that was going on there. They sent William. So that makes it easier for King Charles. And also that he's a man who wants to do things. And I think that's fair enough. But you're right when you say he's not doing as much, but that's what you say you want him to to do. So I think that you've got one there, and it's working.
Yeah, and it's not easy. That's the thing. None of this is easy. This is
No, of course
incredibly difficult. And it would be an incredibly difficult situation for someone to deal with, Angela, at full health.
Of course
That's
it
the
would.
point.
Well, it is. And if you've got a brother who's always disliked you, who you've also tried to, give him money, look after him a bit, and he's actually doing some of this to get his own back. That's one of the things I believe that Andrew's about, and it's very difficult. But it was said that he wants Andrew to be close to him so he can keep him under his eye rather than going off for all over the place, which I thought they should get rid of him, sending thousands of miles away, so they can keep an eye on him. Here he is in a lonely place. People don't see him. He can't wave to them from his horse, and there he will be. And I think that that's quite a good idea. He's done that in the right time, not waited. I mean, people can't be perfect and know what's going to come, in a great sort of mountain falling down in front of you. That's what it's been in the last 2 weeks. It's just horrendous. It's terrible, and it turns your stomach. But, you can't have known that absolutely beforehand. You have to wait till it's there, and then you can move on. And I think that he will try. I think he can give a talk about it too. And I think that a whole load of people who have awful brothers or something like that can listen to him and try and say, well, I did this, I should send him letters. Maybe this would help you, Sam. Maybe this will help you. And to try and work out how you manage with someone who is so appalling. I don't know.
Angela, there are more revelations coming, of course, in regards to Epstein, Andrew, and Fergie. Now, this shock claim that Sarah Ferguson and Epstein were sleeping together. This from the Australian website news.com.au. The adjective explosive gets used far too often to describe snippets of news, but in the case of what I'm about to tell you, it is positively A-grade semtex. Just when you thought your jaw could not plummet close to the floor, faced amid the tide of horrifying revelations about Jeffrey Epstein and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, comes a new claim that has the concussive force to take the roof off a nuclear silo. Sarah Ferguson, the erstwhile Duchess of York, might have slept with Epstein after her divorce from Andrew. On Wednesday, during an appearance on his Lowney Report podcast on Substack, Andrew Lowney revealed a disturbing thing he has come across in his work. There is the possibility that the relationship between the pair was sexual. He said Andrew was sleeping with Ghislaine, Ghislaine was sleeping with Epstein. I've heard that Epstein and Sarah were sleeping together. It doesn't surprise me. This chimes with what Epstein's BFF, convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell, told Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche during an interview in July, saying that Fergie had, quote, put the moves on Jeffrey. Certainly what the ongoing excavation of the 3 million plus documents released by the US Department of Justice by journalists and reporters spells out is exactly how mushily Fergie really felt about the convicted paedophile, flirting, meals, visits, badgering him and sucking up to him like a Dyson with hypoallergenic attachments. It's all laid out there in the emails. She jokes in one about an unnamed woman saying you can marry her too. She is single and a great body. Okay, well, marry me and then we will employ her. In another, she wrote of her love and gratitude for Epstein, saying, I am at your service. Just marry me. So, I mean, well, Angela, do you think that there could have been a sexual relationship between Fergie and Epstein?
Well, I don't know who has sex with who, but I mean, she's shown that her attitude to who she wants to, that her sex is very important to her. She, remember that she was sucking her children's, what was the man who she was with? An American.
Oh, yeah, and she was sucking the toes. And that's actually what sort of caused the first exile.
But Eugene was allowed to see this. Are you doing that with Daddy there? And I think that was appalling. And nobody did too much from that. They sent her out of coming to anything to do with the royals. But otherwise, she was left on her own. And she's She begs people for money. She's going to do it again. She's got no money. And I don't know what she does in alternatively for that, but you can imagine. And she just is appalling. I think for her two girls, it's absolutely terrible. She's always said, we're so close, the three of us, we're so close. We're just a lovely family. And yet she does this, and she will ruin the future work for her daughters, because apparently all the parties and the experts talking to people for ideas, they're all taking away their idea from them because they don't really want to. They feel that they're dirty. They feel that, poor things, they've had a nasty time. But if your mother's done this, we don't quite know what you feel about it all. And she can ruin them altogether. So it's goodbye from the good mother. She was always going there to parties and pubs and with her children, saying how lovely they were and all that. Well, what was she doing with them, for goodness sake? I mean, it's too awful to imagine. I'm not saying they have had any effect or they've done anything, but I think the effect of what your mother does and your father, where you're in a sort of royal meeting place, is just terrible.
Well, it is. And look, Angela, mixed reports this week about whether Fergie is already plotting a comeback. That's what the Daily Mail reported. They said it was very much without her ex-husband, Andrew, and said that she had been telling friends during her time in the UAE, I need to get back to work, I need money. Although Robert Jobson, who is a highly regarded royal reporter too, he says he has spoken to Fergie direct, and it's not true, Angela. This is interesting. He said, I'm hearing the UAE angle may not be the one to follow regarding Sarah Ferguson's whereabouts. No indication of her wanting a new PR or desperate for funding. I had an exchange with her recently, and she was more worried about her mental health. So, Angela, this is something I think that you're seeing a lot at the moment from Andrew and Fergie. And I'm not completely dismissing it, by the way. Given what they're going through and given the pressure they're under, clearly it must be impacting their mental health. And that's a really difficult one, isn't it? Because that's one of the concerns that William has had. For example, if you push Andrew so far, are you almost pushing him into taking his own life? But what did you make of this pushback from Fergie via Robert Jobson saying, no, I'm not planning a comeback. I'm not wanting a new PR. I'm not desperate for funding. I'm just worried about my mental health.
I don't believe that one, because she's somebody who can't hold on to money.
True.
She's absolutely, so many times she has to ask people for money because she somehow can't work out how to use it. So I'm not taken in by that one. But whatever it is, she makes... I know somebody who worked for her for a while, long ago, and she always said different things. And she said, no, I never said that, and she's not somebody who was actually reliable or you can actually trust. And she's over jolly, isn't she? She's sort of, everything's so fun and great and wonderful, and it's all jolly. And I think actually if it was less jolly and she could sort herself out, things might be better. But what she's done to her children, not all of it might be right, but enough of it is right to make them feel absolutely appalling. And I think also you have to think of what the two husbands think. They must actually be very careful looking after them, or they can say, look, I'm not standing around with this going on. And I think that would be very upsetting for them, because they seem to love them dearly. They've got small children. How is that going to manage? How are they going to cope with them? How are you going to talk to them about sort of things that are important in their lives? Why don't they see grandma? It's all sort of very, very complicated. I hope the husbands look after them well. I think they are at the moment. I heard that they were being very caring. But she's done that.
It's a human tragedy.
It is.
Especially for those two daughters. And
yes,
it's going to be very difficult for them. Angela, I wanted to ask you about the other revelation this week. This is in regards to Meghan Markle and Rob Shooter reporting that Jessica Mulroney, her ex-BFF, remember the one who she ghosted the moment that she was caught up in a cancellation saga, has been offered a book deal rumoured to be worth $1 million, and she's considering it, Angela. Well, I have to say, I wanted to write this goddamn book because Jessica Mulroney knows everything.
Yeah.
Or most things.
There we are. What I think is Meghan will pay $1,000 to stop the publishers doing it. I think she will be absolutely beside herself. But she's got, what comes goes. You can't behave in such a disgusting way to her. That it was something about a book, and she just didn't like what she was doing and saying. And there was a sort of black element, very small element there, and she's gone. Well, that's she does. We know that she gets rid of people immediately. Done it with husbands and all sorts. But so she's entitled to say exactly what she likes. And her husband said that she wants to do this. Because it's not fair what's happened to her. And I think that that's right too. I would love to read that, actually, as long as she manages to get it out. But I think of the lawyer reading it, it's going to be tricky.
Yeah, very true, very true. And Angela, speaking of a tricky read, so that little odd bloke, Omid Scobie, with the terrible cosmetic surgery. I mean, what has he done to himself? So he's all boastful, Angela, because he's written a book which is terrible, but it is now being made into an American TV series. And this is what it was all about, Angela, sort of like the fake version of Suits, but set within the British royal household. So it's Peacock, the US TV network Peacock, is going to be broadcasting this series. But the problem is, Angela, the book itself, the source material, is so bad. The Daily Telegraph has given it a 1-star review and said Meghan's confidant has written a novel so bad that AI would disown it. And then I loved this line from the reviewer who said, it would be cruel to compare Scobie's novel to, say, a face whose cosmetic interventions have gone slightly wrong. The lift jacking the eyebrows into a state of chronic electrocution. But Royal Spin has just that airy appearance. It looks like a novel that's being sold as a novel, but it fills you with a dark, obscure sadness. Angela, I thought, goodness gracious me, this novel was, of course, always going to be a disaster, but it wasn't about the novel, Angela. It was just about for him to get this TV series because they want the idea to be that this TV series will almost tell the fictional story of life for Meghan within the British royal family. I think it will be rubbish. I think it will be absolute rubbish. But of course, it's been made by Peacock, which is the American TV network.
But isn't Meghan sort of advising him still? Aren't they still friends?
Well, it was interesting because the other day, Vanessa Feltz, of course, sort of blew the whistle on the fact that Meghan had been communicating her support to her via Omid Scobie. But you just never know. You just never know with Meghan because this guy may well have run out of road in terms of being any good to her anymore. Because, of course, his last book on Meghan was such a disastrous flop that he's now had to move into officially writing fiction. Although the joke that I always make, Angela, is that the first 2 books were works of fiction as well.
Yes. Well, I don't think I'm going to try to read it.
God, no. God, no. Why on earth would you put yourself through that? This was when Vanessa Feltz, by the way, made that revelation live on air on Channel 5. And Angela, doesn't it make sense all of a sudden why Vanessa Feltz was such a revolting cow to you?
Oh, well, don't go there. No. It's a long time ago. I don't I don't hold those things in my heart, so they can get lost. But I think that it's It's very interesting because if he'd shown it to Meghan and she'd have read it, or she'd asked to read it, and she would make sure that it was exactly what she wanted, not anything else. So there you have it. Well done. She's built all the business.
Yeah.
Yes.
Indeed.
But I think it's very interesting because if it's going to be a TV event, then I'm sure that in America and here too, people will love it just for the sake of it because it's rubbish. People
So
just
bad
love
it's
that
good.
sort of rubbish.
So bad
Yes.
it's good. Well, this is what happened with you and Vanessa, Angela. I thought it was terrible.
Yes, yes, it does. Let me just say that we were both in black because the Queen had only just died. So I'd just finished a book on Camilla, so that's why they invited me on. But they weren't interested in that at all. But I was very cross, and as you can see that, well, I'm not going to be treated badly. Why should I?
Good, I loved it. I loved it. You stood up for yourself. But Angela, it's fascinating, isn't it? When all of these years later we learn, oh, we know that was about. We know what that was about. Vanessa Feltz was getting her marching orders from Omid Scobie,
Meghan.
who was getting his marching orders from Meghan. He was being used as the go-between. I just thought it was
Don't scare me, those people. And
No.
those people who want to scare me, they don't scare me because I walked out actually. So just after that, why not? And
on you.
they came back. The producer came back the next day and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. We didn't mean to upset you in any way." He said, "Would you like to come back today and we can talk it again a different way?" I said, "You'll be lucky." No, cheerio.
Exactly.
They invited me
Once
several
bitten,
times.
twice shy when it comes to Vanessa Feltz.
They invited me several times along, please, Andy, you can't still be upset. I said, not in the slightest upset, but I just don't want to be with her.
Why would you put yourself
Here we
through
go.
that? No, exactly.
I'm a bit like that.
No, indeed. But she's shown her true colours there, and she admitted it on air, of course. Angela,
Yes.
thank you so much, our royal mastermind. Have a wonderful weekend.
King Charles previously confirmed that he was undergoing medical treatment after a health concern was discovered during a routine procedure. Since then, the palace has provided only limited updates, which is typical for royal health matters. This lack of detailed information often leads to speculation from commentators and media outlets. Recent commentary suggests that the king's health may have worsened, with some reports describing the situation in very dramatic terms. However, it is important to remember that these claims often come from unnamed sources or commentators rather than official medical updates from Buckingham Palace. The video likely connects the alleged health concerns with ongoing controversies involving members of the royal family. Royal scandals tend to create intense media pressure, and some commentators speculate that the stress of managing these situations could affect the monarch personally. Another part of the story involves claims that a senior royal or palace insider has spoken about the king's condition. In many cases, such statements are attributed to unnamed sources, which makes it difficult to verify exactly who is providing the information or how accurate it may be. If the king were to face ongoing health challenges, Prince William, as the heir to the throne, would naturally take on more responsibilities. As Prince of Wales, William already plays a key role in representing the monarchy both in the United Kingdom and internationally. Alongside Prince William, Princess Catherine is also expected to remain a central figure in the future of the monarchy. Together, the Prince and Princess of Wales have been increasingly visible in public engagements and charitable initiatives. Stories involving the health of a monarch often spread quickly because they raise questions about leadership and stability within the royal family. Some viewers interpret these reports as signs of major changes ahead, while others believe the media sometimes exaggerates incomplete information. The broader issue highlighted by this story is how royal news is reported and discussed in the modern media environment. Without full transparency, speculation can easily fill the gaps, turning limited information into dramatic narratives. While there are ongoing discussions about King Charles's health, the official details remain limited. For now, much of the conversation surrounding the king's condition and the future leadership of the monarchy remains based on interpretation rather than confirmed updates. What do you think about the latest reports concerning King Charles and the ongoing speculation about his health? Do you believe the media is simply analyzing limited information, or do you think there may be more happening behind the scenes? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this royal news breakdown, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more updates on the royal family.